We got a letter. I got an email that brought up a distant memory that I had not thought of, a story that I haven't told. And boy, those things are rare these days. So I thought we'd capitalize on this and ride this for all it's worth. David wrote me. It's a kind of, I'll edit some of the email, but talks about the fact that he attended a show in North Texas. It was a junior high school gym in North Texas back in your early days with world-class wrestling. It was a great show, and about 1,200 people attended. A melee broke out during the contest you were managing, and mid-match you were attacked by an angry fan sitting at ringside. I'll tell you why I remember this incident now here in a couple seconds. But David says you defended yourself admirably by smacking the nut job with your tennis racket and getting in several well-aimed kicks. Seconds later, our principal, a 250-pound ex-college football star, came out of nowhere and executed a perfectly devastating form tackle on the unfortunate, unruly idiot. The first thing that hit the gym floor was the miscreant's gourd. The principal then put a perfect chokehold on the attacker. The principal was then joined by 2 or 3 sheriff's deputies. Yeah, it continued to escalate, who handcuffed the now groggy would-be attacker and threw him headfirst into 2 double steel doors. You know those exit doors in a high school gym with the bars across them? The double door thing?
Yeah.
Head first, boy, boom, and they flew open. Then out into the parking lot, and David says, and into a squad car. Actually, it may not be quite accurate, as we'll talk about in a second. But here's one thing that tickled me about this email. The unique part of this story is on your 3rd or 4th swing, your solid gold diamond ring in the shape of the state of Texas flew out into the crowd and was lost. Wait a minute. I'll tell you. I believe the ring was ultimately returned to you, ? After that same principal did an extensive search. Those of us in attendance knew even then you would forever be a force to reckon with in professional wrestling. The matches were great that night, and the unplanned non-kayfabe ? Mid-match riot was a classic. As a 15-year-old in attendance, I learned you, Jim Cornette, could handle yourself well in a hostile environment, and there were people in the world like the principal, Mr. Rosenberg, I didn't want to fuck with. He's retold the story to his kids and now his grandkids. Hope this jogs your memory. David, thank you. It did. I have to clarify a couple of... Here's what happened. I remember this because in Dallas in World Class, they had such a small crew. I mean, everybody was always at the Sportatorium and on television or whatever, but when they would run these spot shows, as we've talked about, if you were in Corsicana, Texas, the other night same night, another show might be in Seguin, Texas, down south, or just wherever, they would run on the Thursdays and sometimes the Tuesdays or whatever. They'd run 2 events in the same night, split crew. So the spot shows at these high schools would start out with a single match like Kelly Kaniski against Brian Adias, right? And then they'd have a captain's match, which was a nice way of saying that 2 guys out of the tag match, either the Midnight Express or the Fantastics, had to work twice because the captain's match was the supposed captain of the team. Like Dennis Condrey would work one night against Bobby Fulton, the next night Bobby Eaton would work against Tommy Rogers. So they'd vary it up so it wasn't same guys being put upon constantly, but they would have a captain's match. Then they would have some 2 matches or a tag match with some combination of Kevin and Kerry against Chris Adams, Gino Hernandez, or the one-man gang. And maybe they'd have Kerry versus Gino in one town and Chris versus Kevin in the other town, or Gang versus Kerry in one town. And there was always another babyface floating around, like Hercules Hernandez or Iceman Parsons or whatever, and another heel like a Rip Oliver or, whatever the case. So basically that was the fucking crew, right? And they'd always put our tag match on last, even though the Von Erich versus whoever was billed as the main event, because that way they could leave early. And then they were saying, well, we're giving you a break in between the match you wrestle earlier and the last match you can rest up, right? Anyway, now that we've established this, one thing was for sure, I was going to appear twice every night because of the captain's match and then the tag match. So generally, sometimes we would do something where the heel would slip over in the captain's match just to have more interest in the tag match, where ultimately the Fantastics, the baby faces, would win. But most of the time we'd put them over twice because what the fuck, it's a spot show and why get any heat? But one of the standard finishes we had for these singles matches, especially when the dressing rooms were separate, you couldn't talk to each other, was that I would jump up on the apron of the ring when the referee would maybe get an inadvertent thumb in the eye. And I would jump up on the apron of the ring as Bobby Fulton staggered over to me, and I'd grab him, and Dennis would run. And right at the last second, Bobby would move out of the way, and Dennis would boot me in the stomach or nail me, and I'd drop off the apron, and Bobby would roll Dennis up. Referee would recover 1, 2, 3, and then Bobby'd roll out on the floor and leave the heels in the ring to bitch. People would be, oh, fuck you, right? So this happens. But I must have, when we went out there, there was one more thing that came into play here. Did I ever tell you about the shitty spot show ring, Brian, that World-Class Wrestling had, that on some of these little spot shows around the Dallas Metroplex, they would use this little shitty ring?
You didn't, and I was actually going to ask you about the ring, because I know the ring in the Sportatorium was notoriously awful. I was going to say, what were the spot show rings like in World Class?
Okay, well, I've never seen a ring like this before that they used it in some of the shows around the DFW area just because they had a guy that would haul it with a fucking trailer, right? The Sportatorium ring was hard and didn't have any give and was all mildewed from all those years and all the sweat and everything and blah, blah, blah. But it looked good for television. You didn't realize, that the guys were killing themselves on it. But this spot show ring they used, it was a smaller ring, like a 16-foot ring, but I've never seen a ring built like that. I think the guy literally built it in his backyard. There was no apron on the ring. And I will explain this. What makes the apron of the ring is the turnbuckles that are attached to the ring post, and they're generally about 18-inch long, maybe 2 feet turnbuckles that the rope then attaches to. You turn it, that's why they call them a turnbuckle, because you turn them to tighten them. But it turns that corner of the ropes, right? And because the ropes then, if you've got a ring that's 18 feet square, the ropes sit in a couple of feet. So inside the roped area is about 16 feet. You follow me? Yeah. Well, in this case, there were no turnbuckles. The ropes attached to just this short little buckle onto the ring posts. So the ropes were literally almost flush with the ring post, so there was no apron of the ring that you could, like the partner would stand on in a tag match, or that you would get up on. In a tag match, they actually had this apparatus built. A wooden thing, like a wooden platform about 2 feet wide that attached onto the ring post in 2 of the corners. And it went about 2 or 3 feet out from the post on each side, and that's what you had to stand on to take the tag in a tag match. Otherwise, if you had your feet on the edge of the ring and you were holding onto the ropes, you were completely perpendicular. There was you were leaning backwards, right? The balance was off because there was nothing to stand on outside the ropes. So we had called this finish without knowing that was the fucking ring. So I'm like, fuck, when I get out there, I told Dennis, I said, I can get up there. Just give me a second and I'll hold on good, right? We can do it anyway. Okay. So as the spot comes about, the referee takes a thumb in the eye, and Bobby and Dennis maybe have had a collision, and Bobby staggers over with his back towards me. I climb up on this thing, so I've got my feet on the edge of the ring. The balls of my feet are on the edge of the ring, and I'm holding on to the top rope so I don't fall backwards because I've got nothing to stand on. And with my right hand, I hold on to the rope, and I grab Bobby, and I pull him toward me, and I've got him loosely held with one arm because he's going to fucking get out anyway, right? As I see Dennis starting to get up and come charging toward me, somebody has hooked me around the waist from behind and is trying to pull me backwards. And I'm like, what the fuck? I quickly deduced, since I could see everybody else in the match, that this was a fucking mark, right? And what the fuck? I'm holding on to the rope with my right hand. I've still got my left hand around Bobby's fucking neck. And I've got the racket in my left hand that I'm holding around. And that's the only thing keeping me up on this thing. And I turn around and I see this guy's got me. He's gotten out of ringside somehow, and he's got me around the fucking waist. So the only thing I can do is I turn around and take a fucking backswing at him with the racket. and he sees it coming and he lets go of me and he ducks back. Well, now I'm hanging from one arm sideways on this fucking ring, because normally I'd just get in the ring. But it would take me longer to do that. And I would have to turn my back on this guy again, and I'd be off balance, and he's not leaving. So I jumped down to the floor flat-footed, and it was just like a spot. As soon as I landed with my feet, he swung at me, but I was already coming downwards anyway, so I just let the flow go, and I bent over and ducked the swing and came up from the floor with a goddamn shot with the racket right across his forehead, and he took a flat back bump. I've never seen anything like it. It's like he was working with me. As soon as I cracked him, and it hurt my elbows, so I know I got him good, right? That's when I could always tell when I got somebody good, because it hurt my elbows. Whack! He fucking flies backwards. And he does a flat back bump, only he didn't know to tuck his chin, and the back of his head hits the goddamn fucking floor, right? And I think, well, that'll be, and he turns over and starts getting up. So that's when I started, and then I went over, I threw a few kicks, and that's when here comes the principal and tackled this fucking guy. And like David said in the email, the fucking guy's head hits the gym floor a second time and bounces, and it sounded like that, right? Boom, don't make an edit. That's just what I'm a sound effect. And boom. And then here comes the fucking cops, and they threw him out the back door. I heard later on that they didn't arrest him. They just threw him out of the building. They may have told the kids they put him in the squad car. Maybe he got in there later on because he couldn't walk. But the story that I was told by either the principal or one of the cops later was that the guy was just wandering around. I guess the gym was out back of the parking lot or the track or the football field, whatever. He was just wandering around mumbling to himself in the back. They didn't know who he was. They said, as long as he doesn't come back in and try to cause any trouble, fuck him. That was Texas for you back then. But the big question mark in the story, did I really have a gold and diamond ring in the shape of the state of Texas?
Yeah.
No, it was my watch. I had just bought a brand new gimmick gold watch because, I was supposed to be the rich kid, right? Well, I always got the gimmick gold at either truck stops or Walmart, but a lot of times I would wear that. That's before I quit wearing that shit all the time because I was just losing it in situations like this. And as I recall, that's when I remember I've told the story. I got like a cheap plastic black banded watch, a small thing that nobody could really see for pay-per-view where I would and TV where I'd keep time. You couldn't really tell I was wearing one, but I quit the gimmick jewelry because it was just one time I was with Dream Machine in the car on the way from Louisville to fucking through Paducah, Kentucky to Memphis, I think, that way, out the Western Kentucky Parkway. And we stopped at a truck stop at like 3 o'clock in the morning, and I saw this watch that looked like it should sell for $25,000. I'm like, I got to wear this on Memphis TV tomorrow. He said, you ought to buy you that, Corny. They didn't call me Corny back then. What the fuck? But anyway, and I'm going to do it. It's like $8, right? This was a big fucking deal in 1982, $8. I bought it. I put it on. I was like, this is fucking great. And it had that fucking the plastic, the little plastic like stickum sheet over the top of something that protects the face, and you peel it off, right? I peeled the fucking stickum off, and the whole face of the watch came off with the stickum. And all I had was the goddamn works. And I'm like, motherfucker, this is 10 miles down the road, the wrong way. Anyway, but yes, that was a story of Texas. And that was just one of the spot shows. So you always got your money's worth.
Were you always mad or annoyed, or were you always thinking, or did you ever think, well, this just means I'm doing my job well, the fact that this guy wanted to get me?
Oh, no, I got mad every single time. You have to. Because if you're sitting there like, well, fuck, I'm doing a good job. Meanwhile, you're getting the shit kicked out of you. I got mad and fucking fought back and then calmed down later on. At least that was my coping mechanism, to have people physically attacking me 3 or 4 times a week for a multiple year period. But I don't know, some people, your mileage may vary on that one. I don't know, but no, I can't. For the first couple months in Louisiana, I was scared shitless, really. And by March, I remember one night in Alexandria, Grizzly Smith is holding me back. I'm like, bring that motherfucker over here after they've already got me off of him. I'll kill him, motherfucker. A guy fucking just decided he was going to fucking pop me in the side of the head and thought I was going to look at him and not do anything about it. And I fucking Paul Bunyaned him with the racket straight down like a hatchet murder. Boom. and drove him to his knees with 2 or 3 shots. And then Grizzly grabs me. He's like, okay, we got the point. And he's dragging. I'm like, let me go. I'll kill him. I'll kill him 1,000,000 times.
How many watches did you go through?
Well, not many, because that's why I quit wearing it out after a while. You know, where I figure I won't look as, goddamn opulent and wealthy, but I'll save more of my shit. And then also, you wear that shit, it'll cut you or somebody else up too.
How long did you wear? I mean, not just watches.
And I've always been very financially, what's the word? Paniculous.
You wore rings also, didn't you?
Oh, only for a few publicity pictures and an early Memphis television and some Mid-South stuff. And then I said, okay, you know, because you couldn't wear them. Yeah, I was like, it was too much. It was too much. I was trying things. Hey, what could I say? Bowie was Ziggy Stardust at one point. Anyway,